Hi, I'm Sharon. I'm 26 years old, and when you're this age, things start happening around you like they happened to me. I was going to be a bride to the most beautiful, wonderful man I'd ever met. Craig was everything I ever wanted and so much more. We met on a boating trip. I was there with some friends, and he was attending a business meeting in Maryland. I'm not going to call it love at first sight, because honestly, it wasn't. In fact, during our relationship, we went through many stages until we realized that we were made for each other. My family loves Craig. My mum and dad pretend like he's their own son, and the family dog gets more excited to see him than me. I met Craig's mum, Myla, and his dad, Kevin, for the first time months after we decided to get married. And the three of us instantly hit it off. Myla is the sweetest lady who reminds me of my mum, and Kevin is the laid-back type who makes jokes all the time. They're not always funny, but we laugh anyway. I was in love with Craig and his family. But this was before we met Natasha, Craig's older sister. During a family lunch meeting, Miley casually mentioned her. "So, your sister's coming to town next week. Are you two going to pick her up at the airport? I think this is a good time to introduce your fiancé to the other woman who helped raise you." Craig laughed as he nibbled on some toast. "Pulling my hair, eating half my food, running away with my toys half the time. I barely call that raising me, Mum." The whole table laughed as we enjoyed our food. After meeting Kevin, I began seeing how his humour had grown onto Craig. Both of them could crack a good joke every once in a while. Oh well, now I would have to wait for a week until Craig said something really funny.
"Hey, it's all part of the sibling experience, isn't it? Speaking of which, Sharon, darling, do you have one? A sibling, I mean."
"Oh no, I'm a single child. I had a few dogs and cats growing up though, does that count?"
"Of course! My children always scratched and screamed at each other growing up, so I'd say our experience was the same." Kevin started laughing at his own joke, and the rest of us just giggled. I felt so light and easy around him and his family. It was almost too comfortable. Thanks to Natasha, it would soon all change. Natasha had moved out to New York after finishing college. Craig told me how his sister could be a bit overprotective, but he told me I shouldn't worry. He was expecting us to get along just as well as the rest of the family had. Craig was half Hungarian, from his mum's side that is. While he hadn't absorbed much of their country's culture here, in the States, Natasha had. The family would limit their use of Hungarian when I was around because, of course, I wasn't going to get a word of what they said. Here's what they don't know. I'm a linguist, and while that doesn't help me learn languages on the go, it does make it easier. Craig had taught me a phrase or two, and I'd taken on the initiative to learn more myself. There are so many websites that help you with that these days, so now I can use Hungarian conversationally. But I'd planned on holding it out until I was more confident. "So, when are you two getting married? Also, wait, I forgot her name. What was it again?" Natasha started speaking in Hungarian the minute we were together in the car. "Seriously? You just met her like 5 minutes ago and she's sitting right next to me. You're telling me you already forgot? Come on, just tell me already. I'm not going to ask her."
I could only catch bits and pieces of the conversation. Natasha said something about my name. I couldn't quite catch what. Her accent was different than Myla's. I guess it's because she was raised here.
"Sharon, Natasha's asking us about the wedding. She wants to know the date so she can make arrangements at work."
"Oh, of course. We don't have a fixed date just yet, actually, but I can tell you it's going to be in March, so 3 months from now. I think we'll have plenty in time for you to get a few days off from work beforehand, don't you worry."
"Oh, all right, that's a relief. I thought it would be much sooner. Why does she seem so excited when it's months away?" "Let's keep talking in English, yeah, Nat? We're still polishing Sharon's Hungarian, so it's going to take a while." This is already a pain."
"Of course." She whispered a bit of Hungarian before saying that. This time I could catch it. I was feeling a bit intimidated by her, honestly. It wasn't going as smoothly as it had with his parents. But then I can't expect everyone to like me as soon as we meet. I was sure with some work we would get along too. A few days passed. I wasn't always at Craig's place, so our interaction was minimal. Whenever I went to theirs, she would make an excuse to go out. Sometimes it would be shopping or going to the movies with her friends. I could see the annoyance on Kevin and Mila's faces this one time when I showed up.
You better not be leaving us today, Nat. You've watched enough films for the week. Spend some time with Sharon and your brother this afternoon. Oh my god, not this again. I've met the girl and we've talked. Do I have to keep doing it? I don't want to know her. I know enough people. She looks like every other girl. I've met her anyway. I don't see the big deal. English, Natasha. This is the 6th time this week. I mean, I won't be out for long. I'll come back and spend plenty of time with the two of you, I promise, Sharon.
Oh, that's okay. I hope you do, though. I'd really love to know more about you and your work and everything.
Same, me too. It's just my friends keep making plans, and since I haven't been home in a while, they're being very stubborn. You must have friends, right? You understand? What if she doesn't? What if she wants you to stay and is too nice to be stubborn? I thought we were speaking in English, Ma. Again, seriously, what did I just say?
It's okay, guys. Don't stress it on my account. I'm learning Hungarian anyway, so maybe you won't have to switch to English for me.
Oh, lovely.
Anyway, I'll swear I'll be right back today for lunch. Or else Mama Bear here is gonna fry me like a fish for dinner. Bye now. See you all soon. And so she left to go hang out with her friends. Again, it was so interesting to me that she'd stayed in touch with her friends even after moving so far away. I suppose it was because they must have grown up together. I was not expecting her to keep her promise and join us for lunch, but she surprisingly turned up. Right on time, too. She looked pissed to be there, as if she'd much rather be with these friends she kept talking about. I suppose she finally gave in. We talked about how their home had changed over the years and how Kevin's jokes had gotten a bit lamer. It was all fun. Then I decided to ask Natasha what she did in New York. So, Nat, what do you do in New York?
I am an interior designer. I've designed some of the best places out there. I kept asking these two oldies to let me redesign this old house, but they never listened. I was hoping you'd knock some sense into them. This is the house you grew up in. It's beautiful the way it is. Come on, Sharon girl, help me out here. I mean, those weird beige couches are killing me.
I actually quite like it here. Those are comfortable too?
Ugh. Of course she takes their side. She's just trying to be the good girl to get them to like her. Typical. You really have to stop talking about my fiancé like that. What is your problem, Nat? I have no problem. What are you talking about?
Is everything okay? Did I say something wrong? Nat, I didn't mean to offend you.
Oh, of course you didn't, honey. We were just talking about how the house looks kinda ugly. It's just my opinion, though. Your fiancé isn't very keen on it. Hey, Nat, that reminds me. You didn't tell me what Ray was up to. Why isn't he joining us? Dad, I told you he was busy. He really wanted to come and see Sharon and Craig, but couldn't find the time. He'll be free soon, and I'll drag him here the next time I come back. I think he prefers it here anyway.
Oh, I'd love to meet him. When did you guys get married?
Oh, it feels like eons ago, sweetie. But it was just 2 years back. I was designing his new home, and our eyes just crossed. We got married 6 months later.
Wow, that's beautiful. Please bring him around next time.
Yes, of course.
Natasha just gave out a bright smile, and everyone went back to eating. It was pretty awkward after that. The conversation switched to other things like the wedding, the venues, the number of guests, and all of that, but Natasha never showed any interest in any of those things at all. She just ate, silently. I wondered if their family table was always like this. But who am I kidding? I knew it was me. My Hungarian has improved enough to know that she didn't really like me very much for some reason. She thought I was trying to impress Kevin and Mila, so they'd be happy with me. And don't get me wrong, I did want them to be happy with me, but I wasn't going to go out of my way to make that happen. My opinions were, and always will still be my own, but it didn't look like that was going to affect good old Nat here. Looked like her opinion of me was set in stone the moment she met us at the airport. The more time I spent with her, the more I started to catch unpleasant phrases in Hungarian. She would talk to her friend on call and say things like,
"I don't know why my idiot brother is getting married, that to this girl. What does he even see? She doesn't do or say anything interesting, and she has no idea how to speak Hungarian."
She would start having more frequent conversations on call when we were all together, as if she's always preferred talking to someone else. Her phone would sometimes ring at night and she'd be on call for hours. I assumed it was her husband. She would use her tongue like a sword so often that it pushed me further to master my Hungarian. I felt like I needed to be less meek and push a bit back. I wasn't going to sit there and let Natasha berate me in her language whenever she felt like it. So, I became determined. Later on, after spending a few days with us, Natasha went back to New York. In those days, I doubled my efforts to learn Hungarian. I was an assistant professor at the university, and while of course my subject was linguistics, one of my colleagues, Jenna, is a master in many languages. Hungarian just so happens to be one of them. I decided to meet her after hours and talked about my situation. So, as you know, my fiancé is half Hungarian. And it's like they say, Jenna, knowing one's language is one step closer to knowing one's heart. Not to be cheesy here, but I've been trying hard to get a hold of the language. I know a little now, but you're the master. Do you think you could help? Well, I suppose I could. Tell you what, buy me a sandwich for lunch and I'll let you attend my elementary Hungarian classes for some time. It should be enough to help you catch on the grammar. That sounds perfect. But you can't attend the whole semester since you're not a student. Attend a few initial classes with the new batch and I'll help you in private later on. Also, I know you're looking to learn it for your fiancé, sweetie, but are you sure about this? I mean, it's a difficult language to fully learn. Aren't they all difficult? I think with enough determination I can at least be a better conversationalist. A lot of efforts. Also lunch on you whenever I ask, yeah? Don't worry, I won't ask often. You can ask as often as you'd like. Thank you. Oh, I see someone's been working on it, huh? Impressive. Come on, let's go. I'm getting hungry. She laughed, and the two of us headed off to the nearest cafeteria. This was going smoothly. I knew learning a foreign language was going to take a toll on me. After all, I had to give time to my work, my family, and the language, but enough was enough. I wanted to be a part of this family, and learning the language is a big part of it. Plus, getting back at Natasha even a little bit was going to be worth it. So the next week I started attending Jenna's lectures. She was so efficient with the language that I could have mistaken her for a native user. Her accent, too, was on point. I wasn't going to get more than a month of learning, so I made sure that I'd take notes whenever possible. She would always cross-check with me after each lecture. I don't think I could have found a better teacher. Meanwhile, Natasha made her return in a month. By then, my Hungarian had become polished, but I'd kept it from Craig and the rest of the family. I wanted to surprise everyone by randomly joining in on a conversation to show off, but something happened which stopped me in my tracks. Hello, darling. Oh, how I've missed you. I know the last time wasn't long enough, but here we are again. What do you mean I'll disappear again? I'll come back to you in no time, I promise. Natasha was on the phone again. The family was outside once again for a barbecue dinner. The three of them were arranging the table and firing up the grill while I'd just gone inside to get some plates and other things. I already told you, I'm here to attend my brother's stupid wedding. He's getting married to this boring-looking high school teacher or something. I don't even know why. But forget about them. This is all about us. Do you even know how much I love you? If it wasn't for constantly moving around, I'd never leave your side. Oh, boy. Looked like she'd miss her husband, Ray. I felt a little bad eavesdropping, so I quickly got the plates and skittered away. I was glad, though, that I was able to get just about every word she was speaking, even in her unique accent. We set up the table and the food was quickly prepared. Nothing like a hot and delicious dinner for everyone around.
Who have you been busy with all day, Nat? Ray misses you that much?
Of course he does, Dad. He's my husband. The conversation started as soon as we sat down to eat. "Oh, I was wondering, is Ray good with Hungarian too? You must have taught him, yes?"
"Oh, I wish, darling. He's a bit dense and already speaks 2 languages. I think his head is rather full at this point to overload it." "Yeah, that guy, I tell you, smarter than anyone in the room, but doesn't get a single word of Hungarian. It's so odd, but it's okay. We don't force it on anyone, love."
Wait a second. If Ray doesn't speak a word of Hungarian, then who was Natasha talking to? I let the thought of it sink in. I knew I had to investigate a bit more before concluding, so I asked, "Is Ray going to join us anytime soon? Didn't you say you'll bring him home this time?"
"No, unfortunately he left the country for some time. Some business things in Texas, but he said he'll try to swing by on the way to New York." "Nat, the wedding is like next week! I don't know about you, but I need him to be here. That's an order from the father of the bride." "Chill out, Dad. He'll be here, I promise, okay?" "Fine. He better be."
It was right then that I felt like revealing my Hungarian, but I kept it quiet. Ray was away on a business trip. Meanwhile, Natasha rarely spent any time with us whenever she came back home. And she was talking to someone in perfect Hungarian on call. Something was fishy about this whole situation. After all, where does she go all the time? Surely her friends have work to attend to, so who was she spending so much time with? I needed to dig a bit deeper. A few days passed and Nat's tendencies became more aggressive. Me and Mila were going dress shopping with some friends. Natasha looked uninterested, but Mila dragged her along against her wishes. I wasn't fond of the idea of having her around, but then I couldn't say no to my mother-in-law. We all picked this perfect white dress, which felt exactly right for the wedding. I still remember what Natasha noted when I was trying it on.
"Ugh. There's no way I've been dragged all the way here just for this woman to pick that dress. This thing is completely classless and it's worth not even pennies."
Sorry, what was that, Nat? I didn't quite catch you.
"I said it looks so beautiful on you. I could cry. It reminded me of my wedding. Lovely."
"Oh, that's so sweet."
"Thank you." "Oh, someone's been practicing." 2 words and you're proud. I'll take you 2 years to make a sentence of this place."
I just smiled at her as if I didn't know what she was saying. The days kept rolling by, and the day of my wedding came so much closer. Meanwhile, this one particular day, I was cleaning up at home by myself. Kevin and Craig had gone to buy something, and we ladies were alone in the house. Natasha had freshly received a pack from someone. Looked like some sort of gift. I was cleaning around anyway, so I decided to walk over to the hall, right outside her room. She was already on the phone screaming in excitement.
"Oh my God, you didn't! This dress is so pretty, and you perfectly remembered my size and my colors. Oh, Sergio, my dense husband could never!"
Oh no. Who's Sergio? Is Natasha having an affair? I didn't want to think about this possibility. In fact, I hoped my suspicions were wrong. But the more I heard them talk, the more real it became for me. I won't go into all the details, but it seems like they'd met right here years before she got married. Poor Ray has no idea, does he? Even the family seems oblivious. However, I didn't expect myself to let loose so easily when she spoke out about me at my wedding. The day arrived. The ceremony gave me butterflies, and me and Craig were finally knotted together. But it was the after-party that was the star of the evening. Natasha had invited her friends over, and some of the family's cousins were around too. Ray had flown in from Texas for the wedding, and he seemed like a great person. She barely paid attention to him too. She looked like she had some to drink because she'd gotten way louder than usual. Laughing and giving me looks ever so boldly, I couldn't hear her say anything, mostly because this was my moment. I didn't want to pay attention to her. But then it happened. She said something like,
"I'm so done with this whole wedding. Honestly, I'm just here to drink and look prettier than the bride. I give this marriage a month tops, girls. My brother is about to get bored of her sooner than a dog gets bored of a dirty bone. Take my word for it." And that was it. Something in me snapped. When everyone was at the table, I lifted a glass and clinked it with a spoon to raise a toast. That's when I let out all the Hungarian I'd practiced for so long. Even Jenna was at the table. I knew I had to impress her. So, as you all know,
I've been practicing my Hungarian for a while now. Today I can proudly give a speech without fumbling, all thanks to my teacher Jenna here. You go, girl. Thank you, Jenna, but today is not about you or me. It's about Craig and his family. I've loved everyone so much. Mila, Kevin, oh, my dear Natasha. I thought Natasha was the perfect sister to my Craig here, but you know, maybe that's why I was so disappointed in her.
Disappointed, was it? Can you speak in English so we all understand, please?
Oh, I'm sure Natasha will let you in on the context, Ray. Anyway, a few weeks have passed now and I can't keep this in anymore. Nat, I'm so sorry for you and Ray, but whatever it is you've been through, I don't think cheating on such a good man is the right thing to do. Could you please put down that glass and tell everyone who Sergio is? Natasha's jaw was on the floor. Her eyes had gone wide open and blood started running out of her skin. She stuttered as she spoke.
Oh, what are you talking about, you insane woman?
I'm sorry. I don't understand. It's too difficult for you to get in Hungarian with all the wine you've had today. Let me put it simply. Sergio, he's your secret lover, isn't he, Nat? He gave you this beautiful dress, the one you've been talking on the phone all this time.
Honey, what is going on right now?
Ask your sister. She's the one who's been cheating on Ray for so long. How long is it exactly, Nat? Care to tell us in either of the two languages? The whole dinner table had fallen silent. Natasha was getting all sorts of looks from everyone. Ray looked like he was in complete disbelief. It was as if someone had dropped a bomb in the middle of the room.
Is this true?
Natasha didn't utter a word. Tears began rolling down her face as she slammed a glass on the table and took off running. Ray just sat there as if he was shell-shocked from all of this. The table was silent for a good while until I announced that it was time to take to the dance floor. Soon everyone decided to deal with the awkwardness later and dance a few steps with their partners and dates. Ray and Natasha disappeared from the wedding. A few months later their divorce came in quite unexpectedly. I never heard from her again and she never came back home. Kevin and Mila were quite disappointed in her for what she did, and it was awkward among us for some time, but they appreciated that I exposed her sooner rather than later. Either way, that look of sheer fright and anguish on her face was perfectly worth it. I don't think she'll ever find a man as good as Ray again. I'd say it's good riddance for him, for sure.